I'm Aaron Cantrell. Our special report tonight is about the recent developments in the Holly Bobo murder. But before we get to that tonight, we begin with breaking news. The Judicial building on Murfreesboro's public square has been evacuated this afternoon. An odor from a suspicious package began making people sick, and people were asked to leave. The sheriff told MT10 News, individual who opened the suspicious package received a rash. This is a developing story. Go to our MT10 News Facebook and Twitter page for more information as the night goes on. Switching over to Decatur County story, it's a case that defined a small West Tennessee town, and now, after 3.5 years, the family of Holly Bobo is finally getting closure. Late last night, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation announced that the skull found over the weekend has been identified as missing nursing student Holly Bobo. Today, the family released a statement through their family attorney saying, on behalf of Holly, we'd like to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. We will never understand the actions or the motives of those who took Holly from us. Those responsible will be afforded a trial. An innocent victim, Holly had no such right. Steve Farisi went on to ask on behalf for the privacy as they grieve the loss of their daughter. MT10 News has been following this story from the very beginning. Reporter Chris Davis and photojournalist Brock Howard have made several trips to Decatur County just to follow this story. Tonight they show you how this whole heartbreaking situation began.
Holly went missing April 13th.
It was a case that made national headlines.
Police in Tennessee say they are expanding their search for missing nursing student Holly Bobo.
TBI continues to investigate areas in Decatur County.
Holly Bobo was last spotted Wednesday morning.
Holly's face displayed across the country as people watched to hear the story of a young nursing student taken from her own backyard.
I was out there shortly, within 2 hours of everything, because we were in class when we learned. We weren't but about 10 minutes into class when we were getting the notice that EMS had been notified.
The last person to see her own brother, as she walked into the woods with a man he thought to be her boyfriend.
If he thought his sister was in danger, I'm pretty sure he would have done everything he could have. He thought it was the boyfriend, and a lot of people have criticized him over that.
Police started their investigation with few leads.
When she was first abducted, there were thousands of people showing up to search, and everybody pulled together and kind of worked as one, with a common goal.
And 1 year passed, and then 2, still with no answers. The case might have gone cold, but the community didn't.
Well, it doesn't let a case fall by the wayside, I guess. It keeps it active, keeps it on people's minds. We don't want the justice system to lose sight.
Whether they knew Holly.
Holly was one of my best friends in high school and college.
Or not.
As far as I actually knowing, the Bobos I don't, but they need the help, they need the support, so that's what we do. We all pull together, we support. We're all close-knit, we all have a heart.
They all joined together for one common goal.
We're still praying that they'll find her and bring her back home if she is still out there.
Everyone doing their part to find Holly.
Searching, trying to get information. Karen's been out with multiple friends and family trying to get flyers put out to try and bring Holly home.
I've been searching for Holly for 3 years.
There's always been pink boats here because we all had that hope for Holly to come home.
Good afternoon.
And then finally, 3 years later, the day they all prayed for.
Decatur County Grand Jury handed down indictment of especially aggravated kidnapping and first-degree felony murder on Zachary Rye Adams.
But weren't ready to hear.
Right now, it's just heartbreak. It's just not the way we hoped it would turn out. It's just not.
Another devastation, another sock in the stomach, another letdown.
It's a truly sad day in Decatur County because this didn't just affect one family, it affects 2.
Well, of course, there's disappointment, because everybody wanted Holly to come back safe and sound, and, we realize now that that's not going to happen.
And they do have some very difficult days ahead of them. But we just wanted to know that we're right there with them.
And then, instead of accepting defeat, the mission of the community changed.
They're making, this is a time of readjustment for them.
From Bring Holly Home
we're going to get justice.
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 I just pray that justice is served.
To justice for Holly.
Parsons, Tennessee, the hometown of Holly Bobo, is the kind of town where everybody knows everyone. Therefore, when Holly went missing, the devastated community immediately jumped into action. Thousands of volunteers searched for her, they prayed for her, and supported the family. Reporter Chris Davis takes us back to Parsons, a town that has forever been changed since Bobo first disappeared.
You just survive when something this tragic happens.
Parsons, Tennessee is a stereotypical small West Tennessee town.
Well, it's just a small town. Everybody knows everybody.
We may not be blood related, but we're all family.
It's a small place and a good place to live.
And Bobo is a name everyone knows in one way or another.
I grew up in the same neighborhood as her dad.
Holly was one of my best friends. I was Holly's teacher at the time of her abduction.
And I'm personal friends of the Bobo family. And
Holly's life touched their hearts.
And most of the time what we were doing was just being silly and just joking around.
Beautiful young lady, had a bright future ahead of her.
And her disappearance broke them.
Can you imagine not knowing where your child is when you get up?
It's broken everybody's heart.
you know, even though it's been 3 years, we're all still kind of floored by what we've learned and, you know, what we've found out. You know, it's tough, and we'll never completely get over it, no.
When Holly Bobo first disappeared, the message of the community was help us bring Holly home. Now that murder charges have been filed in this case, the new message is justice for Holly. With local resident Zach Adams charged and the searches called off, instead of quitting, the community is fighting harder than ever.
Heavenly Father, once again, we come to you with very humble hearts and very broken hearts. For 3 years, Holly hasn't had a voice. Somebody took that away from her. It's up to each and every one of us to be Holly's voice.
They don't want her to be a story. They want her to be remembered as who she was.
Since the indictments were announced in March, multiple Justice for Holly rallies have been held.
Well, this one is more in support of the family, to encourage them, to let them know that their friends have not forgotten them and that we're going to be with them and beside them in the days ahead.
They have people here for them. If they have, you know, they want to cry, there's a shoulder to lean on. They need somebody to pray. There's people to pray for them.
And I think this helps keep everyone involved reminded of how important it is to.
After a prayer service at Holly's home church, a procession of motorcycles and cars traveled across Decatur County, each adorned with pink and green bows to show that though the searches have ceased,
the community is backing the Bobos 100%.
We can come together for a cause, and we've shown that with this case.
Their support,
people showing up and offering their support and presence,
never wavered.
We're here to support her. If it takes now, from 20 years from now, we're going to get justice for Holly.
But there are some in the community that also remember Zach.
Everybody knew the Adams family. Everybody knows the Bobo family. You know, it's a bad deal.
And are fighting to defend him.
What'd they find this time? Come on, folks. Get real. They trying to blame Zach because he's an outlaw. He's an old country boy, and he been in dope so long that now, by God, they trying to hang him.
There's also those that think their legal system failed them.
If the justice system would have put him in penitentiary for his drug charges, maybe Holly would be alive today.
I don't even understand how he could be out of the system to have this happen.
On April 9th, the murder case was scheduled to begin, but a variety of issues stalled it.
The wheels of justice move slowly.
Decatur County Circuit Court Judge Creed McGinley allowed Adams to waive his right to appear in court.
If I were to draw one word for today's status conference, it would be uncertain.
And due to the fact he had not retained an attorney, his status hearing could not take place.
We really cannot go forward without him being afforded his constitutional right to counsel.
you know, it seems like that everybody was unprepared, and you know, he hasn't retained an attorney, and you know, it was kind of a letdown, really.
Of course, the family's somewhat disappointed. They wanted everything to proceed. We want it to be fair, but at the same time, we want it to be as quickly as possible.
It seemed like to me that the defense knew they knew what they were doing by postponing and putting off.
Though there's no indication on when this case will end.
We need to get the case moving forward before it loses the speed that is needed. But I also respect the judge's opinion in that, we need to be cautious so that justice is served on both sides.
The resounding message stays the same. A hurting community.
We're frustrated.
It's very, very frustrating.
Longing for answers in the pursuit of justice for someone they love.
As bad a thing as it was, it brought the community closer together, which is a good thing, but I wish something else could have caused that.
And the one thing they want everyone to know.
We'll be right here. We'll be right behind them the whole time. We'll see it through to the end.
Joining us now with the full timeline of events is Chris Davis, who produced the last two pieces you just saw and has followed the story from the very beginning. Chris.
Well, Aaron, this whole nightmare for the Bobo family really got started around April 13, 2011, the last 3.5 years, when Holly was abducted from her home in Darden. Now, we're going to go through the timeline of events here for you, starting with April 13, 2011, when Holly was abducted. Clint, her brother, was the last person to see her alive, as far as we know. Clint saw a man wearing camo leading Holly into the woods, and neighbors could hear her scream, and that was the initial point of her abduction. On April 15, 2011, investigators found a lunchbox that they thought belonged to Holly. That didn't end up leading into many trails. And then from April 16th to 19th in 2011, hundreds of volunteers began pouring into the area, searching wooded areas around the Bobo home. Unfortunately, nothing was found. Then around April 20th, 2011, that was the first prayer vigil that was held to mark the 1-week mark of Bobo's disappearance. Of course, there were many others that took place from that point. Then we have a very big gap between those events. The case went cold. Many people started to believe that this would never be solved. Then a lead in the case happened around April 18th through 19th in 2013. The investigators thought that they found a purse belonging to Holly. They brought it to Karen Bobo, and it turned out that that was not her purse. So all this excitement, and then another big gap in the timeline of events where they really did think that the case started to become less prominent. People started kind of forgetting that this had all happened. Then February 28th, 2014, the big break. There was a search warrant that was executed for Zachary Adams' home in Decatur County based off a tip. We don't know yet just what that tip entailed, but obviously it was enough for them to execute a search warrant. Then on March 3rd, Zachary Adams was charged with aggravated assault, but it really had nothing to do with the Holly Bobo case. However, while he was in jail, and because his bond was set at $1 million, they were able to thoroughly search his property. Then March 5th, 2014, and this was the big day. This is the moment that many of us at MT10 News covered. March 5th, Decatur County Grand Jury did indict Zachary Rye Adams on felony first-degree murder charges and especially aggravated kidnapping. On March 11, 2014, Zachary Adams pled not guilty during his arraignment. Then moving on to April 1, 2014, Zachary Adams was charged with coercion of a witness for allegedly threatening his own brother. And he is a witness in this case. So really the significance of that was he was moved temporarily out of the Chester County facility and then moved back in it. But he was charged with additional charges on that. On April 29th, the grand jury indicted Jason Wayne Autry on felony first-degree murder charges and especially aggravated kidnapping charges. That was the first arrest in addition to Zach Adams that was made. They're saying that they are co-accomplices. Not much more information on that we know. April 30th, 2014, Shane Austin, a third person, was granted immunity, but prosecutors wanted to revoke it because they said he wasn't truthful. Basically, they said they brought him in to help them find the body. They said that he wasn't cooperating with officials, so they wanted to take immunity away from him. They haven't been able to do that successfully yet, but they are still continuing to work on that. Then in May of 2014, Autry officially pled not guilty during his arraignment. He told reporters that he was not guilty on the way out, that he was framed. On May 16, 2014, Shane Austin, that's the third member we just told you about, sued the state for revoking an immunity deal. That hasn't gone anywhere as well. On May 29, 2014, Jeffrey and Mark Percy were charged with tampering evidence and were charged as being an accessory after the fact. The TBI believes that they have knowledge of a video containing images of Bobo alive after the abduction, but as of yet, we have not seen or heard of a video that relates to that. Then on June 30th, 2014, Adams was charged with assault for allegedly attacking 3 guards at Chester County Jail. Can't stay out of trouble. August 7th, 2014, Matt Stowe was elected and replaced Hansel McAdams as a district attorney. That was a local election there in that district. Also, Keith Bird, who you heard from in our piece, was elected and replaced Roy Wyatt as Decatur County Sheriff. So all of this to really say there's been a whole lot that has gone on just since March. There have been a lot of new arrests. You now have different district attorneys and sheriffs in control, which is a big change, a changing of the stream right in the middle of the case. And then the bombshell just this weekend, September 7th, 2014, 2 hunters were digging for herbal ginseng and discovered a skull near Halliday in Decatur County. That's northern Decatur County. They find this skull. Obviously, people initially think, oh, does this have anything to do with Holly Bobo? They're very reluctant at first, as they should be. We have to test this. According to many reports, they took dental records of the skull to Memphis labs. And then, of course, yesterday, September 8th, 2014, the TBI in a late-night press conference announced that forensic analysis confirmed partial remains were Holly Bobo. And then, of course, that brings us today where the family made a statement. And Aaron, we did send a crew to Decatur County today, Emily Kinzer and Brock Howard. Unfortunately, they got stuck in the I-24 accident that did end up turning deadly today. We are thinking of the family involved in that crash as well. But as you can see, a lot of moving parts in this case. This is not going to stop anytime soon. It looks like the trial should pick up around December. That's when the trial process should begin for both Autry and for Zach Adams. But as you can tell in that whole timeline of events, a lot of events happened over the course of this summer, a lot of changes in the case with those that are in charge of it, and the only real consistency is the TBI. So this story is far from over.
That's true. A long way to go for some justice.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. The story is still certainly ongoing, and we'll continue to update you as it comes available to us. Stay tuned to MT10 News on air and on Facebook and Twitter, and soon to our brand new website, MT10news.com. On behalf of everyone at MT10 News, I'm Aaron Cantrell. Thank you for joining us, and good night.